Coach Harrell, how about couple opening comments maybe on how year two, getting into year two's going, and spring ball coming up, and we'll take some questions.
We're excited about spring ball. Obviously, we did some good things at times last year, and we got to build on that. Usually, the biggest improvements are from what in this offense traditionally is from year one to year two. So we've got to find a way to make that happen here. So we're excited about it, and spring ball will be a good start for that.
Graham, you generated some NFL interest earlier this year. What did you learn from that experience, and what ultimately led you to coming back?
I think this is a special place. I've said this since I've been here, and we got a lot of great guys, and I think we have a chance to be really, really good. And again, we're happy here. My family enjoys it here. Got a lot of special players here, and a lot of guys that I have a great relationship with here. And to be honest with you, the reason I get a lot of the interest from other places is because of the players we have here and the success we had on the field here. And so I want to see it through with some of those guys and go have success with them is something that excites me and ultimately why I wanted to be here.
What was that process overall? Every time you made a decision to stay, someone else is coming in. It kind of starts anew each time. What was that like going through over and over again?
It can be stressful, but it is obviously a humbling experience, and you're excited about it, and you got a lot of great opportunities. But especially for a family, it can be tough just because you think you figured out what you're going to do and where you're going to be, and then you're not sure anymore. But again, this is a great place, and obviously a really great university with a lot of great players here. My family is happy here, so that obviously helps the cause and plays into it. But yeah, we have a lot of great players. I think we have a chance to be a really good football team, and excited to be part of it.
Had the idea of coaching at the NFL level, had that been on your radar at all, having only coached in college so far?
Not really. It's not. I think a lot of people, their ultimate goal is to be in the NFL, and that's kind of what they view as what their end goal or what they're striving for. And that's never really been. To be honest with you, I've always thought this to be a high school football coach. That's all I've ever known, And so, being in college is fun, and I enjoy it. And going to the NFL is not something I've really considered too much until the opportunity arises, and then obviously you do start thinking about it. It's something you consider, and I do think it's a great opportunity, and maybe one day it'll be the right time or the right opportunity for me to go do it. This just wasn't it, so it's like I said, exciting, and I do think that the NFL, if you look around and look at a lot of the offenses, they're kind of moving towards. A lot of them are doing things more similar to what college guys are doing or what we're doing here. So there may be more opportunities, and the time may be right at some point. And it is an exciting opportunity, but it's not something I've ever thought about or thought that I have to get to feel like I've made it in the coaching world. Like I said, I love high school football, and that's what I thought I'd always do. And I've really enjoyed college as well. It's been a fun few years here, and hopefully get to do this for a long time. But if the right opportunity and the right fit, and that it was a perfect situation, at some point maybe I will go to the NFL. But right now, like I said, excited to be here and excited to work with the guys we got.
What are your aspirations for head coaching jobs in the future? Obviously, that's going to come about.
Well, that's really been, once I got into college coaching, I think that my goal's always been to be a college head coach, and so that's kind of more where I've seen my career going than the NFL until you get opportunities in the NFL, and then you have to consider those and look at those, and so again, to leave here, it's going to have to be a really special opportunity because this is a great place, and it's a place we're happy. It's a place that we love being. It's a place where I think you win a national championship, and that's always been my goal in college coaching is to win a national championship. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I think this is the place that you can do that and contend for that year in and year out. Again, to leave here would have to be just a perfect fit and a great opportunity, but my goal is to at some point be a head coach, and that's what I want to do. And maybe it'll be in the NFL one point, but college head coaching has kind of always been. Once I got into my coaching career, and I was in college, kind of thought that's where I would like to end up at some point. We'll see where it goes from here. I make plans and they don't ever work out, so we'll see what happens from here.
I think it's for a pass-heavy offense and a coach to be running that, to have 2 starting quarterbacks back and basically 3 quarterbacks who won football games for you. I mean, does that change kind of your approach when you've got?
Like I said from the beginning, I don't think you can. The one thing that you can't ever replace or you can't speed up is experience. You know what I mean? And so experience is to me the most important thing. I mean, the way you grow. You know, I mean, obviously in practice and stuff it helps, but real game experience is the best way to improve as a football player, really at any position, but especially at the quarterback position. You can't replace live game reps, and again, we got 3 that now have live game reps, so that helps the cause. The only problem is that the only 3 on the roster, but we'll see how that goes. But we'll have to keep them healthy, and but having 3 guys that have game experience, have had success at this level, definitely helps the offense, and I think helps those guys be successful, helps the offense be successful, and should set you up for success moving forward. And I think that's one of the main reasons why year 2 in the system a lot of times is your biggest growth, because your whole offense or your whole team now has a year of experience in the system with game reps, with live experience, and we got a lot of guys returning from last year's team. They did some good things. Now have a year under the belt. They should be much more comfortable, and I think that the improvement should be drastic. But again, you don't show up and be successful or show up and win. You got to prepare the right way and do things right. They're having a great off season right now in the weight room, doing some really good things. We have to have a good spring ball, and you know, every phase of the off season, if they do things right, I think that it'll give us an opportunity to be a really good football team.
With what they did last year, do you see it as Keaton's job?
Yeah, it's always a competition, and I think that Coach Leach is kind of the guy that I learned that from. But whoever's playing best at that time has got to be the guy you put out there, because they give you the best chance to win. And so Keaton obviously did a lot of great things. He's a really, really good football player, and we saw that since last spring. You know, even coming in as a true freshman, he did a lot of great things. But it's always going to be a competition at that position, because there's only one of them that plays. And so the best guy come whatever, September or August or whenever we play that first game, will be the guy we tried out there. Again, he got a lot of experience last year, which will help him. JT played a lot the previous year, and obviously played a little bit in the first game this past year. And then Fink got 3 or 4 games under his belt this past season. So we got a lot of guys that have played, that have done things at a high level. So I expect them all to, you know, the competition to make them all play better, to be honest with you. And the experience they have will obviously help them, and I think that it'll raise their level of play from the previous year. But again, they all 3 now have experience, so they're going to push each other, and I think it'll make them all 3 better football players.
How do you split reps this spring?
We haven't discussed it, but depending on how many guys we have out there, we'll just split them up and let them go at it. You know, again, we're gonna have to be smart with reps, with a limited number of guys, with taking care of their bodies and taking care of their arms and taking care of everything. But you know, again, as often as we can and as much as we can, we'll try to always divide reps evenly to get a fair evaluation out of guys and see who your best guy at the time is, and who the team can rally around, and who can rally the troops, and who can raise the level of play of those guys around them, because that's ultimately the quarterback's job, is to do that. You know.
Have there been any guys that, like, rallying the troops? Have there been guys that have stood out as far as maybe established themselves as leaders on the offensive side of the ball?
You know, I think that's something that we've discussed and that we think we need to improve on. You know, and again, I think last year at times, a lot of it was we were just kind of trying to keep our head above water and then learning the system, and so you're more focused on just doing your job than necessarily leading the troops. You know, from just an overall standpoint, you know, I think Elijah Barrett Tucker at times, you can see him during, you know, this is more from the off-season program that I'm talking about when we're talking about, you know, their strength training or their speed training. You know, Austin Barrett Tucker speaking up more than he's ever done. He's always been a pretty quiet guy, but when something needs to be said, at times he said it. You know, and that's good to see. And he's a guy that obviously has a lot of talent. That is going to be a special football player, and was a really good football player last year as well, and probably had an opportunity. You know, if he would have wanted to enter the draft, probably could have got drafted. You know, and so he I think finally understands that he has credibility because of what he's done on the field, and now he's using his voice a little bit to try to hold his teammates accountable. And I think that's when, as a football team, you can really started to get good is when the coaches, when the players take some ownership in it, take a little of the ownership off the coaches and then take ownership themselves, the players do. That's when you really have something special. And you've seen a little bit of that. Like I said, Elijah Berry Tucker's done a really good job this offseason doing that. And that's been encouraging. And I do think that we have some others that have kind of been tweaked up and stuff that when they get healthy, we'll do that as well. And so once we get the full squad out there, we'll continue to work on that and continue to try to develop that. But again, this offseason, I think Elijah's done that. I think that Jalen McKenzie at times has done a good job of it. And because of that, if your whole line can lead, you got a chance to be really good because those guys, one, they're bigger than everyone, so they probably carry a little bit of fear from the other guys anyway. So if they're the ones holding you accountable, that's a good thing. And we've had a couple guys doing that. That's been good for us.
What do you
How
see as your
far
options
as
at tackle?
Keaton's arm? Any issues with Keaton's arm?
You're gonna have to talk to someone else, but I think he looks good. But
How about JT in terms of coming back?
ACLs I think are usually a little longer than now. Hopefully, I'm hoping we're able to get him for something during spring, to throw the football. But again, the actual timetable on that's over my head. And with Keaton, what he says is he feels pretty good. But again, that's going to be over my head. If it was up to me, I'd let them both go all the time. But they don't ask my opinion on that. So, we got to take care of their health first, and we understand that. And so, with Keaton, I'm sure early on, especially, that we'll be very conscious about how many balls he's throwing and making sure that arm's right, because it's obviously a very important part of playing quarterback is to have a healthy throwing arm. So we'll do everything we can to make sure he's healthy. With JT, again, just the nature of an ACL injury, the rehab's usually longer than what it's been since he's had it. So, but the thing about JT and Keaton and really most of our guys is they love the game and they love to go compete. And so I'm sure they're going to want to do as much as they can. And so they'll push themselves to whatever's healthy or whatever's safe. And then, what the training staff or Coach Helton deems unsafe or not ready, what they're not ready for, we'll obviously hold them out of it. But again, starting next week, I think obviously we'll have a much better idea of what they're going to let them do and what they're not going to let them do.
What have
has
you
been your
observed about
conversation?
JT since his injury?
What's that?
What have you observed about the way JT's handled the past few months since the injury?
He's handled it extremely well, you know what I mean? Obviously, I haven't got to do a ton with him because he hasn't been on the field or been able to do a whole lot. But mentally and just the way he's approached it from a mentality standpoint, he's done a really good job. And so, I think that JT, as soon as he gets back, he's going to be what he thinks ready to go, because of the way he has approached it, because he's tried to improve himself mentally, and also, like I said, he hasn't been down about it at all, and so I think that's been important, and that'd be an easy situation to get really down about and kind of be a frustrating situation, and from what I've seen, there's been very little frustration from him. He's kind of taken it in stride and just said that, there's nothing I can do about being injured. What can I do to be the best when I get back healthy, 100% healthy, and so I think that's really been his approach since the injury has happened, and because of that, he's gonna give himself the best chance to be successful when he gets back, and so that's to me the only way you can, and the best way to handle it, the only way you really can handle it and give yourself the best chance to be successful is to say, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's be the best I can be when I get back, and that's been his approach. So that's encouraging.
What are the options going to be at left tackle as you head into spring ball?
I think that we just got to find a way to get whoever the best 5 guys are on the field. However, we got to shuffle them. You know what I mean? So if that means moving guys in, moving guys out, whatever we have to do, we got to identify the best 5 that we have, the 5 that give us the best chance to be successful early on, and those will be your starting 5 in whatever order we can put them out there. And so that's going to be kind of our approach, is figure out who those 5 are, and then figure out the best way to line them up to get us a chance to win games and be good in the run game, protect the quarterback, things like that. And so, I do think that at that position, or at the O-line more than probably any other position, reps together really help, because you got to know each other. You got to learn to work with each other, and the way that they work together. Just passing off twists or double teams and stuff like that. It helps if you got reps with a certain person, and so that's going to be a big part of the spring, is identifying who the best guys are, and then figuring out how we can get as many reps as we can with each guy at that position. And obviously Barrett Tucker, was great for us at left guard next year. But you know, if he gives us the best chance to be successful with him at left tackle, you move him out there, whatever the case may be. You just got to find 5 guys and then figure out where each one of them fit the best. And
I'm sorry.
that'll be our approach this spring.
Is it realistic to think that somebody like Portland Ford could come in and even though he's not going to be here till the end of May, could get some playing time?
We're going to do everything we can to get those guys ready. But, you know, I think at the offensive line position, that's probably the toughest spot in all of football to play as a true freshman or to play young, just because not only is there so much you have to learn from the mental side of the game. That's probably the biggest physical position, you know, as far as like physically being growing up. The O-line position probably we got to do it the most physically, you know what I'm saying? And so that's a tough position mentally and physically to come into the true freshman and play. But we're going to do all we can, especially to speed up the mental side of it. This as soon as we get here, and we'll do everything we can. And a lot of that's going to be on those guys because of NCAA rules. But the more they can learn, the more they can study, the better chance they'll give themselves to get playing time next fall. And so heading into next fall camp or this coming fall camp, if one of those guys that comes in can develop and give themselves a chance mentally to play, I do think that we signed some guys that physically are big enough and strong enough that may give themselves an opportunity, you know. And so it'll be fun when we have those guys. Obviously, it'd be fun to have all those guys right now. But this spring again will be a great opportunity to grow some people and move them around and see where they play at each position and see which 5 can really develop. And then once we get the new crew in here for a while, we'll have to evaluate them and see if any of them can break into that, you know, the depth chart and get some playing time. But I don't think, because of the guys we signed, I think we signed some really good players and some guys that are more physically ready than a lot of guys probably are coming out of high school. So because of that, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to believe that one of them could get some action, get some playing time this coming fall. And so we're excited about those guys and look forward to getting them here so that we can figure out just where they are, you know.
What does this team have to do to be able to run the football? What do you have to do?
Stay
this
healthy.
year?
Stay healthy.
How many backs do you have right now healthy?
What's that?
How many running backs do you have healthy right now?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll be interested to see who trots out there because I don't know what again, we haven't really discussed who all is going to be completely cleared for spring. Is Coach Elton talking today? No. That'd be a good question for him. I don't know who he's going to let go because those are over my head. Again, I do think that we have tough guys and guys that want to be out there, but at the same time, we got to be smart about where they are. And so, if they're healthy, they'll be out there. If they're not, we're going, you know, again, especially in the spring, we'll do everything we can to get them reps and improve them, but also be smart about the ultimate goal is to get them back for next fall. But so I don't know how many we have that are cleared to play come the first of spring, and even if they're not cleared, you know, early on, hopefully as spring goes, we get more and more out there.
Going back to
Just
JT,
do one last
what has been your message to him about what to expect when he is clear, than he is healthy, in terms of what's there for him?
Just like I said, it's always a competition, especially at that position, because only one plays. And so, you know, since the day he's been injured, it's always kind of been the same. Just come back ready to compete and be the best as you can be. You know, and that's, again, competition I think makes everyone better. I think that they tell you that themselves. And so, you know, get healthy, do everything you got to do. In the meantime, while you can't physically do things, do everything you can mentally to give yourself the best chance to be great when you get back. And so, again, like I said earlier, that's kind of been his approach, which has been really good to see, and it will give him the best chance. Hopefully he's able to do some things this spring just to get him some physical things. If he can't, he'll continue to develop mentally, you know what I mean? And then as soon as he gets healthy, again, come compete and just be the same guy every day. And that's, at that position, a very important thing. And he does a good job of doing that, though. So excited to get him back, and excited again. He was last fall. He did some really good things, and before he got hurt, he was doing some good things in that game. You know, and so it'll be great to have a full stable back whenever we can get him back. But again, we got to get him healthy and get him there as soon as we can.
Good.
Thanks,